they obviously are moving in that direction. Come on, man. Every goddamn Knesset grant-funded Israeli espionage agency that masquerades as a Jewish advocacy organization has been so far lodged up my asshole for the past 2 goddamn years. Yeah. Also, here is this. Kevin Roberts, Texas, the president of the Heritage Foundation and Heritage Action, has announced that the organization is standing by Tucker Carlson in the aftermath of Tucker's interview with neo-Nazi Nick Fuentes. This isn't Kevin bending his knee to Trump. This is something new. In his statement, Kevin condemns what he calls a venomous coalition that is sowing division by attacking Tucker. That venomous coalition includes MAGA Republicans as well as Jewish conservative commentators, activists, and donors. Kevin also frames Nick Fuentes' rhetoric as worthy of debate rather than something to be condemned outright. A shift like this would have been unthinkable for him. The Heritage Foundation is the vehicle that moves reactionary sentiment in this country. Make no mistake. No, this is not a let them fight moment. This is a consolidation moment. They are saying, instead of trying to stop the anti-Semitic forces, we are going to normalize them. Instead of trying to stop anti-Semitism, like open anti-Semitism, we're not even speculating at this point. This is not like, oh, are you anti-Israel? You must be anti-Semitic. Like, we're talking straight up Holocaust denial. Okay, the one fucking thing that people post World War II had immediate disgust for, right? And was able to be held up as the one thing that you can't really get away with saying and doing for like 75 years. And Israel bricked it in 2. Remember, the Heritage Foundation also wrote Project Esther, which makes this a lot funnier because Project Esther is like opening up the floodgates under Project 2025. They wrote Project Esther, which is their project to basically destroy the First Amendment by opening the door by tackling anti-Semitism. I fear if you see this, you will never let it down, but I can't keep this from you. In short, the Turk is a gentleman and freedom exists only in Turkey. Karl Marx. Yeah, look at this.
Coming days. But today I want to be clear about one thing. Christians can critique the state of Israel without being anti-Semitic.
Notice how he says Christians can critique the state of Israel without being anti-Semitic? Something to consider. Christians can criticize the state of Israel without coming across as anti-Semitic. Muslims, on the other hand, well, you know how those muzzies are. You feel me?
Semitic. And of course, anti-Semitism should be condemned. My loyalty as a Christian and as an American is to Christ first and to America always. When it serves the interests of the United States to cooperate with Israel and other allies, we should do so with partnerships on security, intelligence, and technology. But when it doesn't, conservatives should feel no obligation to reflexively support any foreign government, no matter how loud the pressure.
That's crazy. I still think it's lip service, but I cannot believe that one of the most important figures in right-wing politics, perhaps around the globe, because he's one of the most important figures in right-wing politics in America, and therefore America being the leader of all of the Western nations, means that like the Heritage Foundation is now taking a position where, one, Christians can shit on Jews and Israel, and that America shouldn't abide by this pro-Israel sentiment. Now, do I think that is going to hold, or do I think it's a lip service to bring the Groypers on board with the movement? I think it's the latter rather than the former. Okay? Make no mistake. I don't think that this Republican allegiance with Israel is shakeable like this. But I still think it's lip service, but that can all change. Who's this guy? Oh, just the president of the Heritage Foundation. Just a guy. The president of the Heritage Foundation. The guys that wrote Project 2025. The guys that have been responsible for every key Republican issue that they have advanced, every Republican cause that they've advanced for 5 decades almost.
Partnerships on security, intelligence, and technology. But when it doesn't, conservatives should feel no obligation to reflexively support any foreign government, no matter how loud the pressure becomes from the globalist class or from their mouthpieces in Washington. The Heritage Foundation didn't become the intellectual
Yeah, this is a really good take as well. Since Kirk's assassination suspect ended up being a cipher instead of a groiper, Fuentes was given the opportunity to engage in a normalization tour. All he has to do is play up his charm, and the shock tactics he used to gain notoriety are forgiven. A very Trumpian rise. Yeah. All he has to do is go back on like his isolationist perspective, which was bullshit to begin with, and maybe dial the anti-Semitism to like a more reasonable degree. Charm? No, it's true. He is charming his way. Guys. It's like when people used to get mad at me when I said Trump is charismatic. Trump is objectively charismatic to the people that tune into that frequency. Yes, Nick Fuentes is a solid orator. And unlike a lot on the right, he has the capacity to crack jokes. He can be funny. That's the reason why there's so many dumb leftists who will sometimes post Nick Fuentes tweets and shit and be like, I have to hand it to him. He's really funny. A lot of Gen Z leftists unironically post Nick Fuentes shit. Well, first they post it ironically, and I fear sometimes unironically. Many such cases, many examples of this. They do not understand that this is a very dangerous. There's a very dangerous, treacherous waters that they're swimming in. Anyway, point is, people don't see him as a pathetic racist loser who is constantly trying to make up for his own personal moral failures and his own personal failures in his real life with this grand mythologized version of the Aryan race or white people. They don't see him as the, gay Mexican who is now the leader of the white nationalist neo-Nazi movement in this country, who picks his nose on camera until it bleeds and goes on dates with cat boys and all this other shit. In any case, he will, in an effort to normalize himself and win favor with the institutional right, he will retool his commentary. And we shall see. I'm willing to bet he even dropped the anti-Semitism. He's always been the guy who shits on Trump from the right. Gay Hispanic, I say gay Mexican because he said he's Mexican to a cop. When a cop came to his house and was like, yo, what the f-? They say, are you a white supremacist? They say you're a white supremacist. I saw the body camera footage. He's like, oh, I'm not a white supremacist, officer. I'm Mexican. My last name is Fuentes. It's on video. Yeah. All he needs to do is say, Jews are a parasitic force, but honestly, they've done profound things for the arts and culture in America. That much is undeniable. Muslims, on the other hand, are the true scourge that is going to dominate and destroy the Western nation. And then all of the pro-Israel people that were pissed off about him, that want him to get debanked and shit, will then turn around and be like, this is our guy. Never mind.
Backbone of the conservative movement by canceling our own people or policing the consciences of Christians. And we won't start doing that now. We don't take direction from comments on X, though we are grateful for the robust free speech debate. We also don't take direction from members or donors, though we are inherently grateful for their support. And we're adding more every day. This is the robust debate we invite with our colleagues, our movement friends, our members, and the American public. We will always defend truth. We will always defend America, and we will always defend our friends against the slander of bad actors who serve someone else's agenda. That includes Tucker Carlson, who remains, and as I have said before, is a friend of the Heritage Foundation. The venomous coalition attacking him are sowing division. Their attempt to cancel him will fail. Most importantly, the American people expect us to be focused.
Why can't like Unit 8200 and Mossad focus on these guys, dude? Just go with these guys, man. These guys actually have institutional power, okay? Go deal with them. They obviously are moving in that direction. Come on, man. So every goddamn Knesset grant-funded Israeli espionage agency that masquerades as a Jewish advocacy organization has been so far lodged up my asshole for the past 2 goddamn years. Suck my dick. Shit. Look, there you go. Why don't the cops go after the cops? No, the difference is this. Listen to me. Are a big donor to either party who is Jewish and care about Israel, but you're an American Jew and your family lives here, and you do actually, to a certain degree, worry about anti-Semitism. Okay? Who do you think is a bigger threat? The guy who isn't an anti-Semite but is anti-Israel, or the guy who, for the time being, is seemingly pro-Israel but definitely anti-Semitic? Like, this is what I'm trying to explain. Yeah, if you care more about Israel than you do about living on U.S. soil as a Jew, then yeah, you're going to say, I'm the fucking villain here. I'm the much greater threat. But if you actually want to keep living on U.S. soil freely as a Jewish person, and at some point you're going to have to worry about anti-Semitism. And it's not the fucking anti-Zionists that are doing the anti-Semitism. It is, however, anti-Semites that are taking advantage of the momentum behind anti-Zionism and anti-Israel sentiment. Oh, I know Israel doesn't give a shit all that much about anti-Semitism, which again is also short-sighted, because obviously if everyone moves away from, oh, fuck Israel, to like, actually it is the Jews, why do they have so much control over America? Then do you think that it's going to remain the same way? Like, do you think that don't you think it's going to be much harder? It's certainly going to be much harder for America to continue its relationship with Israel. There is no winning. Obama tried to do a nuclear deal with Iran, and Israel responded by attacking him and largely rejecting the Democratic Party, believing that aligning solely with Republicans was good enough because at least they never criticized the occupation or apartheid. Yet, as many people warned at the time, the Jewish state aligning itself with a coalition that included white nationalists might not be a stable long-term strategy. But Israel preferred trying that to ending the occupation, so here we are. I guess it's just like, we'll see. Only time will tell. I mean, if these guys are genuinely anti-Semitic instead of like utilizing the populist wave of anti-Semitism to their advantage, but they're still very much pro-Israel, only time will show. My opinion on this is I suspect that whichever way it comes, anti-Zionism seemingly is an inevitability. It can either come in a not anti-Semitic fashion as a progressive movement, or in the more likely scenario, it will come as an anti-Semitic movement by the right. Because, like, what do you think happens? What do you think happens after all of this normalization of anti-Semitic sentiment, Holocaust denial, and the like? What do you think? Where do you think that goes? When more and more people are just like, yeah, fuck Jews, actually. What do you think is going to happen? They're going to be like, okay, why the fuck are we giving Israel so much money? Why would that be more likely? Because it's infinitely easier to fucking lean into bigotry and teach an American that Israel is bad because Jews than it is to teach an American that Israel is bad because of anti-imperialism and describe to them that like America itself is also involved in Israel's affairs pretty dramatically. Do you not understand? Also, the far right can get away with doing whatever the fuck they want. It's obvious. Americans are far easier to manipulate on the boundaries of bigotry than they are to be educated on the boundaries of materialist analysis. That's it.
Focusing on our political adversaries on the left, not attacking our friends on the right. I disagree with, and even abhor, things that Nick Fuentes says. But canceling him is not the answer either. When we disagree with a person's thoughts and opinions, we challenge those ideas in debate.
This is a watershed moment for conservative Jews and the American pro-Israel movement in general, where it's like, do you stay steadfast in your unlimited allegiance to the Republicans because of their seemingly unconditional loyalty and support to the ethno-state of Israel, even if they just straight up are defending Holocaust-denying Nazis? Fucking awesome. What a crazy time to be alive. He said, don't cancel the Nazi, the Holocaust-denying Nazi. Come on now.
And we have seen success in this approach as we continue to dismantle the vile ideas of the left. As my friend Vice President Vance said last night, What I am not okay with is any country coming before the interest of American citizens, and it is important for all of us, assuming we are American citizens, to put the interest of our own country first. That's where our allegiance lies, and that's where it will stay.
Woo! Sheesh. This is a historical moment, and every Jew should watch this. The Heritage Foundation is the intellectual cornerstone of the Republican Party, and here it embraces Fuentes as a legitimate part of the right-wing discourse. The pretense of Nazism being unacceptable on the right, it never was, is gone. This comes after Vance did not dispute claims that Judaism was based on discrimination against Christians. Yes, the American vice president and premier think tank of the right legitimized open anti-Semitism within 24 hours. How did this happen? Many on the right gave a pass to anti-Semitism as long as the GOP supported Israel. Even as it became more open, that was the sentiment among the right-wing Israel supporters. Now they are finding that the naked anti-Semitism is worse, and support for Israel is eroded too. The Faustian bargain has ended predictably. The mainstream of conservatism has embraced open anti-Semitism. There will be no turning back. I've long held the opinion that I have revealed to you time and time again that the only reason why anti-Semitism was seemingly the only form of bigotry that had institutional weight was because it could be cynically weaponized against critics of Israel, which is America's ally, right? Most significant ally, as a matter of fact. And over the years, I think, both from an anti-imperialist analysis, but also for the unlimited reign that pro-Israel advocacy networks had, they created a fairly sophisticated influence peddling operation and were able to run through institutions of higher learning, run through all of these advocacy organizations, constantly silencing any sort of fucking opposition whatsoever. But the main purpose that served, this institution that served, was on the one hand to create, obviously, a lot of people in positions of power that held strong loyalty to the state of Israel, for sure. That's why you see so many like Catholics and Christians. It's not like a Jewish thing, right? That's why you see so many Catholics and Christians and people in positions of power that are like, Israel, of course, is our most important ally. Like, there's a lot of social learning there. There's a lot of conditioning there that took place. And now that's seemingly changing. Part of that is because Israel's value is being recalculated in the Western world. And also, anti-Semitism is getting to a point where it's virtually impossible for these it's anti-Semitism is no longer seen as like this institutional taboo, okay? Because like as far as permissible bigotry versus not permissible bigotry goes, saying anything that was even marginally associated or could be associated with Jews or Judaism was a ticket to be fucking canceled, a ticket to be fired, and there were a lot of Israeli Knesset funded networks that literally dox people and did this for years and years and years. But most people were not very aware of it, not very familiar with it, unless you were already in the pro-Palestinian advocacy network, right? Now that people are openly calling into question whether or not this level of unlimited loyalty, seemingly, in the eyes of the broader American public, is actually good for America at all. Now the whole anti-Semitism as an institutional or cultural taboo is going away. It's outliving its usefulness. I just want to know what Ben Shapiro thinks. Just a year ago, Heritage helped crack down on pro-Palestinian protests for Israel's sake. Now they defend Tucker, who recently interviewed Nick Fuentes, and reject any special relationship with Israel. Makes reference to the globalist class. More bad news for the lobby. A bit naive, I think. They're setting the groundwork for realigning Israel first to be more insidious and subtle. To be easier to sell as America first. You said you wanted America first. Getting a base in southern Syria on Mount Hebron is super America first. This is it, pal. I also think this could be the case. I've seen some Trump people try to do that, but I don't think that's what this is. I think Heritage is trying to keep its coalition together despite this fracture, but not specifically in a pro-Israel way. Republicans, unlike the Democrats, have historically been, especially in post, much more responsive to their base. Okay, they have to be. And they will invent new ways for their base to be agitated if there isn't one with the culture war shit. And of course, because of that, they've gone further and further to the right. I think it's very unstable and very stupid to assume that the appetite of the base wasn't going to inevitably tackle the sacred cow that is anti-Semitism, the untouchable form of bigotry, identity politics that is anti-Semitism, often cynically weaponized against critics of Israel. That's it. I've warned about this quite a bit. I said it for the past 2 years. And people would say, "Oh, you're being Jewish exceptionalist." No, it's like I don't think any bigotry is good. Okay? It wasn't me being Jewish exceptionalist or anything like that. It was just me saying, like, this is untenable, this is unsustainable, and the dam will inevitably break. And it won't break in the direction of dedicated, committed anti-Zionism that is anti-fascist in origin, but it will actually be a fascist style of anti-Israel sentiment that is born out of anti-Semitism. This is a Christian nation after all. Good luck to all involved, I say. In a way, though, I don't think those are contradictory. Pro-Palestine protests were from the left, so cracking down on them is good. The anti-Israel sentiment of Tucker and Fuentes is just isolationism and anti-Semitism, nothing to do with Muslims' humanity, so that's more tolerable. I think this is a funny carve-out that they did for Marjorie Taylor Greene. Remember when they were trying to federalize the IHRA definition of anti-Semitism, which would render all anti-Zionist sentiment to be illegal? There's a clip of how they would wish for your commentary after all the anti-Semites take over. Yeah, I've said it a million times. Yeah, there will come a day, just like this was in my Oxford speech as well, where I warned that as an American Muslim, I cannot believe that those who defend Israel, Jews specifically who defend Israel, are basically running around the Western world right now, oblivious to the reality to people who are uninitiated. They look like a Muslim guy defending ISIS. And in some instances, it's even more directly involved with the domestic affairs of Western nations because, like, no one can blame, with the exception of Obama, someone being like a secret Muslim or an advocacy network that was pro-Islam or pro-ISIS in general, that had as much institutional power as the Israel lobby does in both the United States of America, the UK, and many other Western nations. Oh, what about the IHRA definition? Yeah, it reminds me of the funny carve-out that they gave to Marjorie Taylor Greene in the IHRA definition, where they were like, criticizing Israel is unacceptable and it's anti-Semitism. And these are the different forms of anti-Semitism, except you can say Jews are Christ killers. The Marjorie Taylor Greene carve-out was you can say that Jews are Christ killers because, you know, that's Christianity demands that you say that. I remember you saying the Judeo part of Judeo-Christian will go away. Yes. The whole Judeo-Christian values, we're a nation founded on Judeo-Christian values thing, is such a new fucking added on thing to the back end. No, this was a Christian nation founded on Christian values until not that fucking long ago, you know? But people got far too comfortable. I think it's here somewhere where he's like, where is it? Where he says, like, I'm not a white supremacist, I'm a Mexican. Oh, I think right here.
They're targeting your house.
Yes, I've been
about
harassed
social
for the past
media.
4 days.
Okay, and what is that about?
I posted a joke on the internet. I'm a live streamer.
You're like a YouTube channel or something?
Yeah.
You're saying you're
Yeah, the joke was "Your body, my choice." By the way, he was like celebrating that women will be dominated under the Trump
supremacist.
I'm not a white supremacist. I'm Mexican. My last name's Fuentes.
I know. I kind of
white supremacist.
I saw you're a white supremacist.
I'm not a white supremacist. I'm Mexican. My last name's Fuentes.
I know. I kind of
white supremacist.
I saw that. Okay, but
Yeah. I'm not a white supremacist, I'm Mexican, he said. Mind you, in this clip, he complains about threats of rapes days after saying rape wasn't real. Yeah, of course. Isn't that Islam? What is Islam? Yorick player? What do you mean? It's already difficult enough to try to have a conversation, a normal conversation with the average American about how, no, Israel doesn't control American politics. Like, when virtually everything that these advocacy groups and the lobby does is basically control it. like how do I fucking explain that to the average American when they're like, when they're watching the Trump administration, for example, be like, oh yeah, we're deporting people. Shalom. Oh, did you talk shit about Israel? Sorry, you're getting deported. The fuck? How do you explain that to the average person who's like, I thought we didn't fuck with this woke culture shit. I thought we didn't fuck with any of this woke stuff, except for when it comes to Jews, I guess. Why is that so special? Is going to be the average American's attitude when they see it. They're not thinking about this as a complex relationship between America's unsinkable aircraft carrier in the fucking region, you know? Or when they see stuff like in the glorious state of Texas, when you, if you've ever criticized Israel, you just simply can't get hurricane relief. Yeah, the based anti-war guy is now literally calling to invade Venezuela.
Interest of America is to control the Western Hemisphere. And the reason for that is very simple. We are not threatened by Europe. We're not threatened by Asia. A big reason for that is because we have the Pacific and Atlantic Ocean separating us. So, any kind of invasion from a great power over there, it doesn't have a direct threat against the homeland because we would see it coming. They'd have this logistical challenge of crossing the ocean. That changed a little bit with nuclear weapons and missiles, but that still is generally true. And so what that means then is that in order for America to keep the homeland safe, what we have to worry about most acutely and imminently is the Western Hemisphere. Maybe Iran is not a threat because they're literally on the other side of the world, but Venezuela is close to home. Cuba is close to home. And the perfect example is the Cuban Missile Crisis. This is your vital American strategic interest. This is, people say, isn't the purpose of the military to protect America? This is protecting America. These are the Americas. These are strategic interests. And by the way,
Isolationists, by the way. We must focus on removing the Mexicans from the interior. That was his isolationism, which was we must rid the nation state of the undeserving Mexicans, except for him, And now he's like, no, actually, we should be going to war with Cuba and Venezuela.
What's more, this has been U.S. policy for 200 years. It goes back to the Monroe Doctrine. And, people like to say we shouldn't meddle in their affairs. We've been doing that since the Spanish-American War. We've been doing that since, there were these banana republics. Like, we've always been operating in that way. And that's for a very good reason. I think that's a realist point of view.
But to be a finer point, the Monroe Doctrine is we don't meddle. You meddle, we come in.
Is Alex Jones starting to beat Ozempic? Yeah, I do see it. Latino, by the way. Yeah, true. Fantastic stuff. Why aren't they deporting him then?
The question is about Joe.
Because he's white enough, bro, and he's an important figure in the right-wing movement. Here's Ben Lorber. One last point on the Kevin Roberts thing. 3 years ago, Kevin Roberts flanked Yoram Hazony at NatCon, and it looked like a durable, lasting America First consensus would include the pro-Israel status quo more or less unchanged. Not anymore. Nick Fuentes just shattered it. Last year, I went to NatCon and expected, perhaps naively, to find a big fight over Israel brewing on the conference floor. It wasn't quite there yet. I was 1 year too early. The Israel split on the right just widened into a chasm. Strap yourselves in. I don't think a lot of institutional donors of the Republican Party, like Miriam Adelson and shit, are going to take this lightly. Chasm, sorry, not chasm. I don't think so. I don't know. But Israel is also a very, I don't know. Israel does have a very mischievous way of dealing with American politics, even though it's very blunt usually. So who knows? Maybe they are also saying, you guys can be anti-Semitic as long as you're just more Islamophobic or something. Who knows? What you've been saying, I can't even take credit for predicting this, is worse than it's worse than I ever predicted. I don't know what exactly you abhor about my views, but we can all agree that free speech, Christ, and America First should be the pillars of our movement. Thank you for your courage in standing up for open discourse and defending Tucker against Israel First woke right. The right has no immune system against hate mongers and grifters. Few people in MAGA circles are willing to stand up to them, and the audiences likely wouldn't support them if they did. Right-wing writer Richard Hanania, who knows plenty about this world, summed it up on X, writing that the contemporary right-wing media has no interest in arguments, leaving only charisma and appeals to identity. You wanted a culture where nobody was ever canceled, where the only sin is a lack of baseness or being a cuck, where if the media was opposed to someone, that's all you needed to know, and you would defend them, Hanania tweeted. You got it. Richard Hanania is literally a white supremacist, by the way. Like, he is a Palestinian who was, I don't know if he still is, very pro-Israel, and also was a straight-up white supremacist. I don't know if he still is, but he has made this weird like liberal pivot, and I'm kind of confused by all of it. Still very much a freak, Asian fetishist. I don't know. He is just like a bizarre dude, but the abundists have brought him into the fucking fold. Yeah. What is this? Thinking about the red pill? Fuck both of you. Why did you send this to me? The term is abundance cucks. Get the name right, man. No, I like calling them abundists. I saw libs on social media suggesting him during the Joe Rogan on the Left discourse. Oh my God. How has he been more liberal recently? I mean, he takes pot shots at the right quite frequently, hangs out with mostly liberal commentariat people, and has spent most of his time shitting on the far right and right-wing people from like an annoying elitist liberal kind of way. Dog, why are evil Palestinians next level? Him and Bukele? That's actually a very interesting take. You're right. I forget all the time that Nayib Bukele is also of Palestinian descent. Not the finest moment for a very fine people. People are saying DJ Khaled, but at least DJ Khaled is not like outwardly antagonistic towards Palestinians. He's just too much of a pussy to say something. Scoop, a classified U.S. report has found Israeli military units committed many hundreds of potential violations, human rights violations of Gaza that will take multiple years to review. The findings mark the first time the U.S. government reports has acknowledged the scale of Israeli actions in Gaza that fall under the purview of Leahy laws, which bar funding to units credibly accused of such abuses. U.S. officials said the watchdog findings raised doubts about the prospects for accountability for Israel's actions, given the large backlog of incidents and the nature of the review process, which is deferential to the Israeli Defense Forces. This is a classified U.S. report that finds backlogs of, wow, shocking, hundreds of possible Israeli human rights violations. The State Department's Office of the Inspector General declined to comment for this article, but has acknowledged that the report's existence on its website. This report contains information that is classified and is not available for public viewing, the webpage says. High-profile incidents in Gaza pending a determination are numerous, including the killing of 7 World Central Kitchen workers in Israel in April 2024, and the killing of more than 100 Palestinians and wounding of 750 others gathered around 8 trucks near Gaza City in February 2024. The report explains the protocol for reviewing human rights violations by foreign militaries that receive U.S. funding. In the case of Israel, it describes how a bespoke bureaucratic process advantages Israel over other countries facing similar allegations. What? No way, dude. Classified U.S. report finds backlog of hundreds of possible Israeli human rights violations. 100 seems low. I mean, that's just like logged directly that the American government genuinely knows about.